Dobrý den. Dobrý večer, vážení příznivci a zastupuji spolek Kruh. Nyní se scházíme na první podzimní přednášce Kruhu a slavíme zároveň 20 let. Přesunuli jsme se do online prostoru a věříme, že i tato prezentace pro vás bude zajímavá. V Kruhu se věnujeme nejen přednáškám, ale organizujeme také celorepublikový festival Den architektury a filmový festival Film a architektura s názvem Skryté příběhy. Oba festivaly jsme úspěšně zahájili včera a v několika následujících dnech můžete navštěvovat jejich bohatý program. Letošní přípravy na všechny akce Kruhu jsou náročné kvůli nemoci a měnícím se opatřením souvisejícím s koronavirem, proto vám velmi děkujeme za vaši přízeň, zakoupené vstupenky, nejen na dnešní online přednášku, ale také za celkovou podporu. Na dnešní přednášce, která je součástí letošního cyklu o severské architektuře, svou práci představí oceňované norské studio Reiulf Ramstad Architects, které má hlavní sídlo v Oslu. Ateliér se věnuje především krajinné architektuře, ve svých realizacích často používá přírodní materiály a jejich práce se vyznačuje citlivým přístupem k okolí. V přednášce nám budou představeny jejich poslední projekty, ale rovněž stavby starší, které studie přinesly pozornost, ať už je to Trollstigen, projekt Národní turistické trasy, nebo například Muzeum lidové kultury kraje Romsdal. V následující prezentaci se dozvíme o vnitřní filozofii studia Reiulf Ramstad Architects, založené na ohleduplném přístupu k přírodě. Zároveň si ukážeme i jejich inspirace. Na realizaci této přednášky se podílí nejen celý tým Kruhu, kterým tímto děkuji, ale i Kino Světozor a naši partneři. Dnešní přednášku také podpořili fondy EHP a Norska. Všem patří náš dík. Všechny aktuality o činnosti našeho spolku můžete sledovat na našem webu nebo sociálních sítích. Aktualizovaný program právě probíhajících festivalů Den architektury a Film a architektura poté najdete na webových stránkách příslušných festivalů. Nyní si pustíme krátká videa našeho generálního partnera a hlavních partnerů akce Severská cesta.
Stories are invaluable. They stem from the myths of our world, home of the birds of paradise. From their love dance, offsprings are born. The origin of life, of every story, and faith, nature, metamorphosis, journey, and humility. In the memories of the cathedral, both good and bad times emerge. The struggle keeps the world changing forever, and the sun gives hope that after each night, a new day begins. Hence, the writer doesn't hurry, writing towards a dream that becomes reality. Everybody has visions and ideas. Everyone looks up towards the future where living and lifeless, nature and technology unite. Only equilibrium provides happiness and freedom, to be found in the responsibility for one's own destiny and for the entire world.
Tak děkujeme všem partnerům, děkujeme za podporu dlouhodobou i krátkodobou. A já bych jenom ještě krátce vysvětlila, proč jsme se přesunuli do online prostoru. Oni nám zrušili vlastně všechny přímé lety z Osla do Prahy a zpět a zároveň v Norsku je povinná karanténa navrativší se z České republiky 10 dní a neuznávají testy. Takže bohužel jsme museli přistoupit, nebo i možná bohu dík, protože nás sleduje víc lidí, tady do online prostoru. Nyní je mi ctí představit norský ateliér Reiulf Ramstad Architects a předávám slovo člence týmu studia architektce Tjase Mavrič, kterou zde vítám a přesunu trošku se teď do angličtiny. Hello Tjasa, thanks for your time and that you are with us here in Prague in virtual lecture hall. And now we thank you for your presentation and we are curious about it. So it's your turn. Thanks.
Hello everyone. It's a repeat that I cannot be in Prague at the moment. But anyways, I hope you're comfortably seated in your sofa or wherever you are, and I will try to do my best out of this online lecture. So our office is based in Oslo, Norway, Scandinavia, and I would like to try to present fragments of our work, which are kind of leading us how we do our architecture. And I don't like to call these topics like a manifesto, but just some kind of sources of inspiration that are leading us. Towards the global, everyone knows that we are facing a huge amount of globalization in the latest times, and that the world has been changed a lot in the recent years. And since we are here in Scandinavia and Norway, we hear a lot about the poem Nordic cuisine, Nordic design, Nordic landscape. And I would like to ask myself if we are really only working in this field or if we are gathering the references from other parts. And I believe, yes, we do kind of try to combine fragments from the global world and from the space we are and where we live and work. So we don't create architecture but one kind of recipe or one kind of norm. We are always trying to re-establish and reinvent these norms that are surrounding us. And I think we are inspired by all kinds of inspirations, references. So I don't think maybe we can call that we are only based on this new Nordic approach. Maybe we can even say it's kind of a no Nordic approach. And we are, as I said, gathering influence from all kinds of words and triggers, which are sometimes shocking or pleasing. And we are combining craftsmanship and the life of its own and how the materials and landscape is ruling our life and how we are kind of searching for our lifestyle. So I believe we are kind of creating spaces for local and global, and yes, we can disappear in the nature and in the fields of snow, and if we look from the other point of view, we can actually also disappear in the middle of New York. So with this kind of thoughts, we are working in different surroundings. It can be either like your urban area, or we are putting fragments in the landscape and trying to connect the interior towards the world. And anyways, we are also working and designing architecture for the users. So I would say that we are kind of creating our cultural and historical landscape as we are moving along. Water and the ocean. I have been living in Oslo for several years now, and I must say that this vicinity of the fjord and the water has been really important. And maybe we take it for granted, but as soon as we kind of miss this feature, we really feel that something is wrong. And I think we have to take the responsibility for the water and for the ocean. And this picture tells more than 1,000 words, But yes, I think we need to think how we will deal with the circumstances that the humankind has created in the latest years. And the project World Ocean Headquarters has got this role of being some kind of a lighthouse and a research center to represent these topics of pollution, overfishing, and our impact that we have on the water and oceans. I think that this is really important both in national and international way, just to think that most of the plastic and pollution comes basically from, I think, 10 rivers in the world, and they are in Africa or Asia. So I think that this project has the chance to be important both worldwide and at the same time locally, and like in Oslo and around. So we created this very specific shape of the tower, and also a very special point on the top of the tower where the users and visitors can have this view towards the ocean and can get a better understanding of what is our impact on the landscape around. Regent City is a project in Gothenburg in Sweden, which is also having a quite big global role as it's being the entering point to the city. And it's also at the same time going to be a new area in the Gothenburg. It's a master plan that we have been working on for quite some years, and also we have designed the first tower, which is going to stand there. So I think our role in this project and actually in the city is quite important, because we are not just creating a new project, we are also creating a new surrounding and a new city life, a new field of the both buildings and the spaces that are created in between. So we work a lot how to connect human being and the project, and how the facades and the openings are related to the spaces and the use. So also important thing of this project is that it will create a new silhouette of the town. So we have been working a lot how to recreate the shapes both on the tops of the tower and how to connect it and how to create this flow of going inside and outside. And this is the Jubileums Tower that's going to hopefully be the first one in the Regent City, which shows this kind of duality between openness and closeness and the relief we wanted to create with the facade. So we always try to combine this classical and shapes and robustness of the city, and to bring some kind of play on the facade as well. We are back to Oslo with another tower with a little bit similar topics. It's a tower that is standing on the central station of Oslo. It's actually right above the railway station. So we have been facing with a very complex program in the first floors. It's trains and a lot of transportation, a lot of users during the day. So that was kind of leading us how to create this very functional program in a way. And on the other hand, we wanted to create the living room of Oslo and give the possibility that the project is not only used by the ones who are going to the station or away and the ones who are going to the office, but that is the project that will give something to the city. And that means that we want to create a living room in this street level and give the option for users to come all the way up, where we create this another lounge of the city with this prosperous views towards the Oslo fjord. Local is not the opposite of the global, and I think they work hand in hand. So I think that we are kind of trying to gather these fragments from the global world we are trying to combine them with local traditions and to enrich them and to flourish architecture that we are working with. So in a way, we are always working and trying to blend our work with the surrounding. Maybe not exactly as on this picture, but how we also want to blend with the surrounding is from the human perspective. I think the success of the architecture is when we create these social meetings and when the architecture is used and when it's observed and when we see this so I think that emotional intelligence is very important in our work, and that is how we try to create the human scale. Also, the materials and the respect for the local culture is giving us a lot of input how we work. And as local environment, is important nowadays. We are not able to travel. We are not able to explore so much the world as we did for some. It's really important that we are this environment that we are safe and is everything all right? Okay, online check. So Split View Mountain Lodge is a small cabin in the Norway landscape field, and here I would like to explain again that yes, we are trying to focus on blending the landscape. The project is following the contours and the heights of the terrain, and is kind of being distributed into three wings, and that's with the reason that we want to kind of three different views, the 3 points of interest in the landscape, and that we can see both inside and outside, and maybe need some kind of art pieces inside since we get this frames from the sofa or from the all internal areas. So also very important part of our work is just that to be blended with the landscape, but how to create this comfort, a special way of comfort maybe. That, it's not only based on the areas and quantity of rooms, but more or less of the quality of the rooms that we create and of this kind of intertangling of the elements when the wall is becoming the furniture and vice versa, and when this opening in the volume is becoming a piece of the interior as well. The Folk Museum is a museum in Malta. It's of Oslo, and the city of Malta has quite interesting view, which is visible from the whole city, and very rich tradition of the use of the landscape on the roofs and how this craftsmanship was developed in the past. It was a big source of inspiration also for our project. It's kind of joining the history of this city, and the Bunat is the main Bunat is the costume. Excuse me. Bunas is the costume that is traditional from Malta, and I believe that the museum is trying to kind of gather the data and the Bunat at the same time. So we are trying to show this rich history and culture for the people, and we are trying to create arena for the whole city. So the construction is kind of following the architectonical shape and gets the expression for it. So, and I believe then it is very different aspects of this medium that we see from. So as we move along, this different shape. And the shape is obvious also from the inside and outside. So I guess the interior is kind of following the roof shapes, and again have the opportunity to have the connection with the landscape. Our architecture is always based on the details, and I think this is really important, since this is the only way how we can kind of show our concept all the way through until the building is realized. So vertical and horizontal areas are quite crucial, and we're working a lot with the elements, how the windows are incorporated into the walls, and how we usually try to identify the profiles, and how to, on the other hand, show parts of the building very visible towards Stjørdal is the culture center in the city, which is close to Trondheim, and this it's a city with this kind of suburbia of Trondheim, and the center got this important role, and actually we got the opportunity to create an arena and the gathering spot for both people from Stjørdal and Trondheim. So we got this luck to bring the people both from the city to this area, and there are skaters who are coming to use the areas around, and there are people who are using this center both inside and outside. The center is having very rich programs. So we are having library and theater and musical halls and church. And our intention was to create this very smooth flow for the users. So we wanted to kind of reduce the corridors and give the functions to all the rooms that are offering us in the museum, and also the possibility how to have this different relation towards the outside world with the small openings, and then with the big view towards the landscape. And at the same time, we, in this like some kind of image zones, this is the church where the people can find some peace. And then again, all these communication ways that have always the relation both down and up, and where we always need a beam of light, and then also the vertical communication that always have this second function and becomes same time as there, and the furniture and the piece of art. Aneshka, could I, excuse me, but could I ask you that you mute down, because I cannot almost hear myself. Yeah, I can start again. Is it better now? I can try to quit and open it again. let's hope it will work better now. It was just a little bit of a problem and echo, so I hope now will work, and I apologize for that. House of Grain is placed in Denmark, and it's a project that is having the big respect for the landscape that is surrounded, and has the role of putting the food production and this local culture in the highest position. So the intention was to create a center where people would learn how to treat the grain and how to bake the bread. And the project is positioned in this field of grain and this beautiful surrounding, which is changing toward through the seasons. And I believe that a lot of this kind of references were taken straightforward from the kilns, and we see the brick that is kind of representing it, and these two vertical points are kind of related to it as well. And at the same time, we get the possibility how to get the skylight into the project. It is quite simple plan, and all the functions are organized around this main zone, which gives us also the possibility to have this very different and flexible kind of organizations in the interior. And at the same time, we have this opportunity to have always this relation to the fields of grain and watching it and observing it, how it changes from the autumn to spring and so forth. Bjørnarveien are the family residences in Oslo in a bit more urban context. These are two very robust volumes that are also kind of creating a new kind of context in the existing area around. They are existing of 4 living units with a very simple volume, but with very precise position of windows, and with this like difference and contrast between open spaces and a little bit more intimate zones in the upper floors. We have very simple division, vertical division between the units, and the stair and this vertical communication is becoming not intentionally a center of the unit, but maybe an orientation point. And that's also because we have this relation to the outside world on the both sides, which creates the openness from the inside. And then again, still in Norway, the church, Narvik, it was very much related to the history and culture, and these are the state churches that are typical for Norway. And we see a lot of detailing and very specific shapes, which were leading us towards the kind of reestablishing the form of our project, where we kind of tried to reinvent the shape, and we brought it to our project, which is also building up from the culture and history, but also growing out from the landscape and these harsh stone areas around, and then continuing up towards the cross and the God, I would say. And it has, I think, quite strong relation to this natural surrounding, and gives also this important role as the church should have. The interior is pretty much simple and has this intention of giving the peace and like tranquility of the space, with the uniqueness of the materials and just this shadows that are created because of the openings towards the outside wall. Bygdenesveien was a project that was recently finished, and people moved in last year, I would say. The aim of the project was to create the relationship and kind of different aspect of at the same time collective living, but we wanted to give the users enough of privacy. So every unit has different positions and possibilities of this relationship towards the garden in the middle, and then later on towards the ocean. We combined and kind of positioned the villas towards the historical building and wanted to preserve this very rich and beautiful garden. And the aim was to break down the big volumes and to create the smaller units that has these spaces in between where the architecture can breathe, and that the villas can in a way relate to the human being. Inside we have, as I explained, different options how to go inside and outside, and we see also how the importance of different heights can give and create different atmospheres, and this flow between lower heights towards the bigger heights and the materiality change, I think, has the big impact how to create this contrast also in the interior space. Fjord Center in Marheim is very much, again, related to the local surrounding and this aspect of the area where it stands. And it's the same time kind of following the contours that the landscape is giving us, but on the other hand, it is organized in a super simple plan, which gives us the opportunity to have this very alright economical feasibility. And we have also the opportunity to have this strong relation to the water that is surrounding us. And here we can see that it was actually the nature that framed the size of the building, and that kind of gave us the result how to form the building in itself. And a little bit out from Norway is the Bath in Iceland. Now we are more or less, everyone is at home. Tourism is kind of stopped, I would say. But I think when we start with that again and again, this pandemic has changed the perspective of how we see the tourism and how we will see it, and the importance of safety and this special features that we will get with tourism. I think they will be even more important, and how the points or spots of the tourism will interact with the surrounding. I think they will have a really big role in the future. And this bath is kind of trying to get the role to really be integrated in this lava field, and it tries to also get the role of rain vent, or maybe to reinterpret the area that was previously degraded by human beings. So we are really trying to create this special atmosphere, how the water is becoming a part of the nature, and how the building is disappearing, and how the rocks are becoming the walls, and vice versa. And again, this opportunity where we have the possibility to be together in a kind of a small space and surrounded by the big and enormous landscape, but at the same time to have this opportunity to have the private life and calm atmosphere of enjoying the bath. So I believe that here this notion of architecture and nature is really blended when the buildings are disappearing into the water and when water is intruding into the building. In the office is where we kind of create everything and where everything comes to paper. And I would say that we are kind of an office that is has a part of chaotic atmosphere and order at the same time. And I think we are using a lot of this dream kind of approach and combining it with some kind of academic atmosphere as well. But of course, we are always have the issues of following the regulations and rules, and we have to balance this kind of approach with the business as usual office. But I think that our work is so complex that it's really difficult to put in one algorithm. Like maybe Google is trying to do it now. Everyone is seeing that Google is observing us and stalking us, and they want to kind of put everything into the formulas. And I really do hope that they will not kind of figure out our wicked mind. And I think that our work is way too complex to just put it on one paper and kind of make a formula how to work with it. We're working in Oslo in so-called Justinas gate, and in the building that used to be children's theater, and we refurbished it for some years ago. You see, the building has quite a, maybe not office feeling, but it's very interesting with the details and this kind of strong character of the building that it has, which we always also use in our sketches, that sometimes are something out of it, maybe become a building, or maybe just ideas of fragments of the work we are doing. And yes, this is the office where we work and where we put our models on the walls. And this is the so-called elephant in the room, the small station that is kind of multifunctional piece of furniture, which we use for talk and small meetings and serving the coffee and printer, etc. And the big and important intervention of this office was to open the floors. We are working on 2 floors, so we created a glass floor, which are giving us this breathness and spaciousness and connection from upstairs to downstairs, and then vice versa. And then the garden and the water, which is important and which we want to have in the near vicinity. And it's really magnificent how we can work actually in this surrounding where we can follow the falling leaves, and in the summer we are having lunch in this garden. And maybe I can show a little bit of atmosphere in the movie now. You are playing the movie, right? On the construction side, so I guess this is the part that we are looking forward the most in our work, and it's on one hand also the most challenging part of the building site, and probably the most hectic time in the office when the building site is on. So I think we are kind of struggling the same issues as we do in the office. We are kind of trying to following the regulations and norms, and on the other hand, we are trying to find solutions and to reinvent or reestablish these norms. Just that here in the building site, we are always kind of having someone above us, and that's this financial and economical issue that is following us all the time. So I think here we are always trying to kind of establish the relationship between chaos and order, and we are combining the technology and nature and landscape and the building elements. And what is really important is in the building process is to establish the trust with the workers. You can see how those two guys are here above this, I don't know how many meters, and how much trust was needed to kind of realize the project. This is Trostigen viewpoint. And it's in a way challenging for us, but on the other hand, also very pleasing and admiring that we have this possibility to learn a lot from the craftsmen. And I think it's the kind of very good dialogue is important, because in the end is the solution that it is built is usually the solution that is found by both of us, both the company of workers and architect at the same time. And I think also in the building side, we are always having this, I'm a woman, but no matter what, we have this kind of feminine role an architect has, and we are always kind of searching for more and more and trying to break more and more regulations and finding the solutions to come to the end. So our biggest aim is to create buildings that will last and that will be in good use for the people who will live there or use it. And we hear a lot about this topic, sustainability, and yeah, sustainability is becoming a must in the buildings that we are designing now, but I don't think that sustainability is only the topic that you put this very high-tech solutions and maybe create a city building, but the sustainability means much more. It's both these sustainable solutions, but also all the topics I have already talked about it. It's about the sense of the place, the materials that arrive from the area, the smart use of the materials and technology, and nevertheless to create these volumes that will be able to be changed and that will last for a while, not just for like a couple of years. Holmendommen is the family house in Oslo, which is in the construction site now, and we got the task to create quite complex program for being a family house on a relatively small plot. So we used it as much as we could to put the volume with the maximum height according to regulation, and at the same time creates kind of a compact volume from the outside with a combination of the small garage at the side and the main building here. And the play of the building becomes obvious when we enter the room, where we create this contrast between lower areas with the functional rooms like kitchen and then upstairs living rooms, and then with the big living room that is getting opened all the way up. It's around maybe 9 meters where the person can see and have this window on the top. And important aspect here was also maybe to create this vice versa that we're used to. We wanted to put the hard and tough on the top and some kind of light and transparent zone on the bottom level, and maybe create this kind of floating atmosphere. It was also a little bit of fun fact that we first drew a pillar here, but then actually the construction guy said that maybe we can just get rid of it, and that was very pleasant. Here it's some pictures which are trying to represent some of this, our atmospheres and qualities we create. It's still in this constructive phase, and a lot of elements are maybe not showing the quality which we will have in the end. But this is this huge and high room that will have the opening and skylight on the top, and then the view towards the small lake and towards the greenery and Oslo. Details and detailing, I think we can be quite satisfied with the workers, what have they done so far. So that is, as I said, really important. How do we manage these connections between different materials? How do we manage to connect the window to the flooring, and how to really show the necessary element? And we always also use kind of different perspectives of opening and closing and different functions of the window. Sometimes we want to show the big opening, and sometimes we want to show this kind of fragmented view and also offer enough of the privacy to the users. And on the other hand, we have like a very closed and like dark side or just a wood. Landscape Hotel in Breitenbach in France is offering again a new way of atmosphere and experience in the landscape, and for the tourism, tourists and local people. It is consisting of several units, like single units, smaller and bigger, and this main building. And the aim of the project was to reinforce the local culture, the respect for the cuisine and the landscape and the local ingredients and local food and like the animals and etc. Here we see the different kind of use of wood, again with the panels and then perforations that are kind of hiding the windows, and just this functional use of the opening, and then the big opening that gives the user the opportunity to connect towards the landscape and the landscape feel. And we are using different kinds of wood and different shapes, and that gives us the opportunity to create this kind of shadow play and diversity of the wood that we can get it. And at the same time, this is the very kind of simple perspective and simple way of building it, which gives us this opportunity to create big quality, but at the same time establish the economical visibility for the project. The elements or the units are standing quite close to each other, but they are facing towards different directions, and that's the richness that this project gives to the user. So everyone can feel alone, and on the other hand, they can gather a community, and the units gives also different options of relation to the outside world, where you have these different covered terraces and terrace that is open towards the world, and different notions how the user is relating from the inside spaces towards the outside. Pilestrede is the housing project, which is very interesting because it's positioned just 5 minutes away from our office, and it's at the same time easy and difficult to work in the area that you know really well. But I guess here it was a help that we were familiar with the neighboring blocks and the good homes that we wanted to take as a reference, and to kind of create this kind of context for this project as well. And the neighboring buildings were, of course, a reference point for the heights as well. So what we did is that we kind of scaled from the lowest to the uppest, and we finished this corner building with the 6 floors, and we also are giving the new position and the new role of this corner. So this corner suddenly gets a kind of more important role in the city. And then the kind of shaping down and going lower towards the side street, and giving the space in between and the landscape the opportunity how to intrude in between the buildings, and the possibility how to create some parts that are sticking out and having these points which are maybe unexpected, but gives this bigger quality both outside and inside. And again, the play of closeness and openness in different shapes and different sizes. Here we see also how we give the opportunity and the importance to the ground floor, and this meeting between the visitor and the building, and how is this the first impression when the person is entering the building, both during the day or during the night. I would say that users could be quite lucky, because it's not everywhere you get this chance of having this spaciousness, public areas, and that you have the chance to get a journey when you go home or from your home, and have opportunity to go up these stairs, and maybe even have like a better connection with this light on the top, and the materials and the shapes that are giving this unique experience in actually quite basic everyday life. Musettertoppen is a area of the cabins and huts in the skiing resort in Oslo, which we won a competition for some years ago too, maybe, and which we are starting a building site at the moment. And I think that this project is rooted both in tradition and in innovation. And tradition is because, yes, we are building in a tradition space where local and materials and history are very important. And innovation is because we wanted to create some kind of a innovative way of tourism, and how the huts and cabins are inside and outside, and to create different aspects, how these different units are relating to the ski slope. In the landscape, it's one of the topics that are definitely very important for us, that are surrounding us, and this fuzzy and vast fields that are so strange at the same time and so admirable are definitely something that is we are following, and we are observing with a huge respect, and those creatures with this random shapes, and with this big effect that they have in our world and society, that we are kind of observing and connecting, and this landscape and the climate that is also very much related to our work. Norway and Scandinavia has this harsh climate and really big differences between winter and summer, and in the winter you can have 6 meters of snow on your roof. So this is very much then defining our work, how we are treating the elements which are surrounding us, how is the journey that we are doing, like the animals are doing in the nature, that's how we do in our work, and how we can try to relate to these elements, to the water and to the stone, and how this can help us to kind of re-establish the architecture, and how we can get the notion of the space, and how our work can be related to the nature as well. Trollstigen Visitor Center was designed in different stages, and one of the first stages was basically just to organize the area, which was very much not popular before the project stood here. It was basically just a small parking space, and we managed to kind of create a journey. We managed to put this stunning view closer to the observer, closer to the visitors, and we managed to create the path towards different aspects of the nature that is there, and we had this thoughtfulness aspect of choosing materials that are related to the existing surrounding, from the metal to the stone and concrete, and with a big respect to the water in the form of static figure, and then the water that is designed and giving us this motion and moving, and then how the water is further on growing up to the stone and to the shapes of the building. And we can maybe say that this is an architecture which is kind of blending into the surrounding and vice versa. And when the summer or winter comes, our building is basically disappearing. And then when the greenery comes again, it's becoming visible again. So I think that is also very important, how the architecture is changing through the year and how it's kind of breathing with the weather and with the space. This is a landscape project in Rochheim in France. It was the small competition that we also designed, and the project is consisting of a walking and cycling path around 11 kilometers long. And the aim of the task was to kind of bring and reinvent the landscape that was maybe forgotten before, and to put the landscape into the new light. And we created the unexpected elements and fragments on the way where people cycle and walk, and where they can stop and make a journey up, or maybe just have a short like rest on the way. And again, here we worked a lot with how to connect the leaves and the forest, and use the local materials, and how to create this path that will not only be a cycling area, but also the path to stop and rest and connect with this magnificent view. And I would like to finish with a tiny project. This is Roldal Cabin, also in Norway, where we had the task to create a cabin and an annex for the owner and for the family who would visit. And we managed to create this in a main volume that is just like 44 square meters big in footprint, and at the same time has this richness inside. And that we managed because we followed the terrain contours, and we kind of created the movement inside, which is following the shape of the terrain. And we managed to open some spaces and create relations on the both sides of the building, and that gives us the opportunity to have this spaciousness in this micro small cabins and huts, or so these are very small plans, but it's not very important how the building is. It's functions, and it has all the functions that are necessary to have holidays there, from kitchen to sauna and living room and areas to rest. So I think here we are very much succeeding in creating this some kind of different kind of comfort, which doesn't mean that you have a tremendous space, but just the notion that you can have some spaces where you can rest and you feel safe. I think this is the task of architecture and task of us to give to the users and people. And I believe that, yes, this can be shaped and designed in every kind of shape and in very different atmosphere and surrounding. But this, what we do is we do for people, and that is leading us. So this is it for me for now.
Thanks a lot for your lecture. There will be applause, if normally we will be in lecture hall. So thank you very much. And now there will be a time for Q and answers. So I will skip for a while into the Czech. So sorry for 2 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
Tak vážení diváci, můžete vidět pod videem odkaz na Slidock a můžete dávat svoje návrhy na otázky, já je pak budu tlumočit. A já začnu první otázkou. So there will be my first answer or a question, sorry. You work a lot in nature. are there any regulation, like you need to do special shape of roof, or can you work with flat roof, or because in Czech Republic we have a strict regulation in the mountains. Is there something in Norway?
Yes, we have regulations as well. So many times we are kind of fixed with the heights and with the shapes and with the materiality. So as I explained also before, we are always struggling with these forms and like norms and regulations, but we're always trying to argument them so that the most important is to create quality and the like big relation to the surrounding, and maybe sometimes we need to kind of twist these rules and maybe just give another perspective on the rule, so that maybe sometimes gives us the opening and maybe sometimes a little bit less stiffness. But of course, yes, we have regulations as well, both in urban areas and surrounding like landscape and in this remote areas around.
About the landscape projects you made, it's something like landmark for the landscape. And is there any problem with tourism? Because some of the people are coming probably to visit your project, not only the nature. So what, for example, locals think about your projects?
I think that is also some kind of applause for us. For example, Trollstigen was not visited before at all, and now it gets I don't know how many visitors yearly. And first it was big issue how to finance this project, but now I think that the country has realized that this is very important for the nation and for the region. And when we are dealing with maybe more private homes that wanted to be visited, yes, of course, people are visiting, and but what is some kind of luck and unluck is that some of those small projects are really in areas that maybe are not so reachable, and Norway is really big. So I wouldn't say that this is kind of offensive, but if it's in urban areas, I think that's just a positive thing. I mean, we are doing things for people, and now we had, for example, Oslo open house for the project Pillestrede that is 5 minutes away, and I think we had like 700 visitors in 2 days, which is kind of uncommon. And I think that's maybe the thing that gives us this pleasure that we are doing something right, and that it is important that people see, and that's actually the point of the architecture that is visited and used, and that people do talk about it. And it's not only architects that do that, but even more important is that like other people do that.
Thank you. We have from audience, we have some questions. So from Jakub. Hello, Tjasia. The kindergarten in the video you showed had snow on the roof, very close to the window. How do you protect it from contact with snow on the roof? Probably, how do you protect like children, from the snow falling from the roof, as I think is the question?
Yes, well, it's not only the kindergarten that has these issues, it's actually all the projects that we are working with. And we have gathered knowledge of detailing through the years, how to deal with this harsh climate, and it's both water and snow that are the issues. So, and on the other hand, we don't want to offer too much of the architecture. So we are always trying to find these smart solutions, how to create maybe some minimal elements, or maybe the elements that are more or less blending into the whole image of the project. So, but still they serve their function. So regarding the snow, sometimes we have some kind of snow protectors that are just protecting at the ends, that the snow doesn't fall, and at the windows we always have some elements that we always try to minimize, but still we need them to kind of protect the water to come into the building and to destroy the facade or interior construction.
Windows or glass of the window in this particular project?
Well, we work with different aspects how to kind of detail the windows. Sometimes we have the windows that are flush and that they are kind of connected with hooks to the construction, and sometimes we have metal elements that are kind of positioned above or between the construction or facade element and the window itself, and that can be positioned above the window and under the window. So we have different aspects how to protect the glazing from the water coming in, and from as well then later on from the loss of the energy and etc.
Thanks. There is another question. How did you start it in the office, and how did you get there? You personally.
Yes, I started because I wanted to experience life in Norway. So that was the main issue, and the office was one of the offices that I had big respect for from before. So that was basically the start from day one, and that it was just a continuing of the journey.
And there is also regards to Reiulf Ramstad from anonymous question, so give regards from Prague.
I can say that I can send regards backwards. Unfortunately, Reiulf is busy in another meetings, but it's the topics that we discuss every day and the topics we work together, and also the work and projects and these ideas that I presented today are the ones which are kind of leads of our work. And I'm not sure if I mentioned before, but these are also the topics that are presented in the book that we published for some time ago. So you're welcome to read a bit more about that.
Okay, great. So thanks for your time. Sorry that you can't come to Prague, maybe next year or over next. Thanks for your lecture, and we stay in contact, and we thank you a lot.
Yes, thank you very much for tonight.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Děkujeme za pozornost. Thanks.
Yes, likewise. I hope it was